Hello again, it's me AZC2. Today it came to my attention that prominent Russian dissident Alexei Navalny, made famous by the documentary Navalny 18 months ago by Daniel Roher, has apparently passed away while in custody. It was said that Navalny collapsed while walking about in the compound of a maximum security prison in Russia's Arctic Circle a few days ago and could not be revived. The cause of death was said to be a blood clot. Shortly after, his body went missing and was recently discovered lying in a hospital morgue with bruises all over him. Alexei Navalny was a prominent critic of President Vladimir Putin. He had tried to run against the incumbent Russian leader in 2017. In a few years before that, he had tried to stand for election as the mayor of Moscow City, but he finished second best with only 27% of the vote. This had come despite several allegations against him for fraud. Navalny claimed that those allegations were politically motivated. He had a YouTube channel where he made many fiery speeches denouncing Vladimir Putin for being corrupt and not caring about Russian people. Towards the end of his life, he was also an outspoken critic of the war in Ukraine. Navalny had gone to Siberia to campaign in 2020 when he was apparently poisoned by agents from the Federal Security Service, or FSB. He became ill on a flight from Tomsk back to Moscow, and the flight had to make an emergency landing in the city of Omsk for him to receive medical attention. He was subsequently evacuated to a hospital in Berlin run by the charity organization. Doctors in Berlin discovered that Navalny had been poisoned by the Novichok nerve agent, which had previously been used in the attempt on the life of Sergei Skripal in London. It was during this time when Navalny was undergoing rehabilitation in Berlin when he was approached by filmmaker Daniel Roher. Roher was a famous documentary filmmaker, and he wanted to make a documentary about Navalny's work. At the same time, investigative journalist Christo Groziev of the organization Bellingcat was also looking into Navalny's alleged poisoning. As we all know, Novichok is a military-grade poison. It was developed by scientists at Russia's Signal Institute, which has ties to the country's armed forces. By tracking the digital footprints of people believed to be part of a hit squad assigned to take Navalny out, Groziev identified Konstantin Kudryavtsev and relayed the information to Navalny. Navalny then set up a sting operation in the presence of Daniel Roher and Groziev. This was all documented in the 2022 film Navalny, which I had the privilege of reviewing at the Revelation Perth International Film Festival. Navalny pretended to be a member of the Russian government, and he questioned Kudryatov about his actions on the day when his team had allegedly been around the city of Tomsk tracking the movements of Navalny. Kudryatov admitted that his team smeared Novichok on Alexei Navalny's underwear after they sneaked into his hotel room. But they obviously miscalculated the dosage of poison needed to kill their target, because their target had obviously survived. After Navalny recovered, he made the decision to return to Russia, even though he knew the risks of him being re-arrested were great. And sure enough, he was arrested upon arrival in Moscow. The cameras were rolling even after the police led him away. Protesters had gathered at Vnukovo airport awaiting Navalny's return, but the plane was diverted to another airport in the region at the last minute. Navalny knew that he may never be released from prison, yet he made the decision to go back to Russia. He could have settled down to a comfortable life in Germany, but his patriotic fervor told him that his job was best finished off in Moscow. He was charged with breaching parole and sentenced to 19 years in a maximum security jail in the Arctic Circle, where he had been since 2021. Navalny died as a patriot. There is undoubtedly blood on the hands of Vladimir Putin, not just from Navalny, but from the passengers and the crew of MH17, as well as the pregnant Ukrainian peasants from Donetsk Oblast. Navalny was a thorn in Putin's side, much bigger than the Wagner Group chairman Yevgeny Prigozhin ever would be. Prigozhin's beef was with the Russian Defense Ministry. He was particularly annoyed with Sergei Shoigu for not giving the Wagner troops enough ammo during the battle for Bakhmut. And he decided to stage an open insurrection against Putin. The Wagner mercenaries went on a march to Moscow, but they found little to no opposition to their mutiny, which made Prigozhin suspicious that it might be a trap, and he called off the mutiny. Shortly after, he died in a plane crash, and the Wagner Group was more or less disbanded, although their African operations apparently remain active. Vladimir Putin is one who doesn't tolerate opposition lightly. His critics have more often than not met with a violent death under mysterious circumstances. Usually they jumped from a window in an apparent suicide, or they were found dead from suspected poisoning. Navalny himself said if Putin really wanted him dead, he could just have him shot in broad daylight by a gunman. You know, why go through all the trouble using poison? And Navalny's final message in the documentary film was that this may be the last time anyone sees him alive. And his message to the people of Russia is to never give up and to keep fighting for freedom, for democracy, for liberty. I'm sure Alexei Navalny is in a better place now. His soul is free. He will never experience oppression again. Unfortunately, the ones left behind, his wife and his 2 teenage children, they are the ones picking up the pieces of his life. Navalny mustn't die in vain. His legacy must go on. The fight for freedom, against corruption, against dictatorship, the fight must prevail. Vladimir Putin can't live forever. Sooner or later, Putin's evil rule must end. His decision to wage war in Ukraine should hopefully bring about his downfall once and for all. To Alexei Navalny, we will see you on the other side. Rest in power, my friend. Bye for now.